The pre-classical Greeks believed in the ability of men to become bears. One of the most commonly told stories is that of Callisto, who bore the child of Zeus, Arcas. Hera, Zeus's wife, became jealous, as she's well known to do, and transformed Callisto into a bear's punishment. Arcas, out hunting, came upon his mother and shot her. Zeus, taking pity upon the mother and the son, changed them both into Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the two great bear constellations. Welcome back to the studio, guys. This episode is largely devoted to the Muse, as they come in whatever form they fashion, whether by mythology and lore or just simple color expression. This Muse I will simply call the Keepers of the West. It is an 8x10 stretch canvas, and unlike our usual stretch canvas, this one is actually going to be in Inktense pencil, because at the time I felt like pushing the media. Our color palette is going to be deep blue, cherry, willow, baked earth, sepia, mustard, cadmium yellow, and ink black. For those who have had concerns in the past about the color fastness of the Inktense pencils, it seems that in other tests from other artists, it seems that the red hues are the ones that have had issues with fading, and for the most part you can inhibit the fading and the color fastness by spraying down your finished pieces with a UV clear coat. So there's that we can start off with. So let's get into the mythology and symbolism. In this particular section we're going to talk about color. Now, yellows and ambers represent colors of strength. They bring clarity, illumination, and enlightenment. Browns bring stability, grounding, and awareness of earth and conservation. Purple is usually a color we associate with fall and Halloween, invoking ceremony, wisdom, calling upon good judgment and spiritual insight, evolution, expanding learning, and healing. Black, which sometimes can be associated with funerals or the death of somebody, often is associated with mystery, promise, introspection, awareness, and intuition. Now, a blue-black combo, which is what you find in that crow, is often associated with experience, again with the introspection because of the black, but strength, responsibility, and maturity. Now, this in particular Trinity features a brown bear, a coyote, and a crow. Now, they embody in this piece the essential three archetypes of lore: strength, foolishness, and the ability to connect with something greater than itself. In native lore, the aspects that something represents are called medicine. Medicine can be good or bad, and can come from both living and non-living, or may come from the form of dreams or visions. While omens play a major role in the cultures of old, be it Celtic, Greek, Roman, or native, omens brought with them the lessons of their own. And just coming across one of these creatures could be seen as an omen and a lesson. We've all heard of the phrase, protective like a mother bear. And while that phrase has its merits, it's not the end of what bear medicine has to teach. In native folklore, there are many tales about bears. It is highly respected as the keeper of dreams and the keeper of the medicine, and is one of the most powerful totems. Like birds, bears are considered to be kin among native peoples, as it can stand and walk upon two legs. For many, the bear and wolf are the last true symbols of a primal and more natural world, free of the trappings of technology. Many ecologists and conservationists believe that how humans respond to protecting their lands will be the most honest depiction of how serious humanity is as a whole about the preservation of our environment and those natural resources and balances within it. Within native lore, bear represents fortitude, bravery, fairness, leadership, stability, durability, and maturity. Moving on to the coyote. While it would have been easier and more popular to make the second member of this trinity a wolf, coyote has a valuable lesson of its own. And while the wolf was demonized and hunted to near extinction in the 1800s, Wolves have been feared, hated, persecuted for hundreds of years in North America. Before the arrival of Europeans, Native Americans incorporated wolves into their legends and rituals, portraying them as ferocious warriors in some traditions and thieving spirits in others. European Americans, however, simply despised wolves. Many, including celebrated painter and naturalist John James Audubon, believed wolves ought to be eradicated for the threat that they pose to valuable livestock. This attitude enabled centuries-long extermination of the campaign that nearly wiped the gray wolf from the continental U.S. by 1950. But the coyotes are not villainized as much. Smaller and more adaptive, despite many states having an open season without limit for coyotes, rather than shrinking in population, the coyote has expanded its range and can now be found throughout the entire continent of North America. Adapting to live in herbal, rural, and unpopulated regions, the coyote slips by for the most part without being seen and rarely being heard. Its prey, consisting of small rodents which are easily found where humans dwell, make a need to adapt and learn to coexist with humans a must. This ability to adapt, along with its own great intelligence, is the basis for the lore that surrounds the coyote. Being known as a trickster, often depicted as an anti-hero, think Deadpool. Coyote demonstrates the dangers of negative behaviors such as recklessness, greed, pride, lust, and gluttony. However, being considered a god, Coyote takes some savage blows and always seems to walk away to scheme another day. Part of our Trinity is the crow or raven. In this in particular artwork, the two kind of merge into one. However, while we did touch upon the native lore, I do want to touch on two other pieces of lore, since most people typically associate crows and ravens with funerals and death, and maybe the occasional Tower of London. While nearly everyone can recognize a crow or raven by its striking black colors, which sometimes has iridescent qualities, not everyone can appreciate the lesson that it has to teach. In Roman mythology, ravens and crows were actually depicted as white. According to the lore of Apollo, the son of the most powerful Greek god Zeus, it had an important, a bit tumultuous relationship. The Greek word for crow, koroni, comes from the name of Apollo's mistress, Coronis. According to the version of the story told by Apollodorus, although Coronis and Apollo had been lovers, she left him to marry the mortal Ichus. The crow, then white, brought the news of the marriage to Apollo, who became so incensed that he burned the bird's feathers and then burned Coronis to death. A popular Muslim legend depicts the time Muhammad was hiding from his enemies in a cave. A crow, then white, spotted him and cried, "Gahar, Gahar! Cave, cave!" to his seekers. They did not comprehend the crow's cries, however, and Muhammad escaped. He then turned the crow black for the betrayal and cursed him to only utter one phrase for the rest of time. "Gahar, Gahar!" In more modern times, the crow is believed to be a messenger to the living from the land of the dead. In related fashion from the context of this painting, the crow represents the message from beyond, insight into the unforeseen, and represents an element of the supernatural and the unknown. To summarize, not all art is an exercise in techniques and colors with media. Sometimes it's meant as an expression of humanity, to remind others that we are sometimes more than ourselves. If you found this episode interesting, please like and subscribe for more content.